Hi, and welcome to cloudacademy.com's video series on security, and particularly security in the AWS Amazon system. In this video, we're going to talk about multi-factor authentication, or MFA. We've already discussed passwords, and they're critically important, but they have their limits. For instance, the passwords that your users will choose are often too easy to guess or too easy to hack. They're not long enough. They contain only letters, or they reflect birth dates of their children or something like that. Sometimes a user will use one password for many accounts, for his or her shopping accounts and credit card accounts and for email accounts. If any one of these accounts is hacked, then every other account using the same password is suddenly vulnerable. Sometimes passwords are good and they're used only for particular systems, but they're just not updated frequently enough. You can go years sometimes without updating passwords, and if there's a vulnerability on a system at any point during those years, then every activity thereafter is vulnerable. Finally, passwords, no matter how good they may be, are vulnerable to spoofing, either email spoofs, where somebody might send an email to a user claiming to be from the company administration and requesting that they log on to a particular web page and use their password to get into their account, when in fact it's a web page that may look like it's coming from this company, but it's actually created by someone else who's harvesting usernames and passwords. Or it could be a telephone spoof. Somebody in a company that's big enough calling up, claiming to be from IT, from Information Technology Department, and saying, we got a bit of a problem with your account. Would you mind just telling us your username and password over the phone, and we'll clear that up right away. This is actually sometimes the most effective type of vulnerability that passwords and accounts could be subject to. So passwords on their own for sensitive data often just aren't enough. We can add another layer of protection to an account using MFA, Multifactor Authentication. An MFA-enabled system might make use of one or another form of hardware device whose physical proximity to the computer which is attempting to log into the system would offer an extra layer of guarantee, an extra layer of assurance that the user in fact is the user that you've given these authorities to. You could also use a virtual device, even if not all of your employees necessarily have or want access to another small physical device. They nearly all have smartphones, to which can be downloaded software to create a virtual MFA device. Let's say if we're using an Android smartphone, you might go to Google Play Store and download software like Google Authenticator. Once you've set that up on your smartphone, we'll enable MFA on our Amazon account, and then we'll associate this smartphone with its MFA software to our account. Let's go to IAM, and we see that the root account MFA is currently disabled. Click on Manage MFA Device. We will select a virtual MFA device because we're working with the smartphone that our user happens to own anyway. We'll continue. And we'll use the scanner, the QR code scanner that is associated with Google Authenticator, to scan this QR code. And that will present us with first one and then a second authentication code. Usually, the first code will be visible for about 30 seconds, and then it'll be replaced by a second code, and a third and a fourth and a fifth. We're not going to worry about those. But the nice thing about this system is that these passcodes are forgotten. Once they're more than a couple minutes old, they become invalid. So even if somebody was looking over your shoulder or somehow managed to to make a note of the code that you're entering, it'll be useless to him or her in another few minutes. So you enter the first two codes that you see, one after the other, and you click on Continue, and you're done. This smartphone will now be associated with this Amazon account. The next time the user wants to log in through a PC to the Amazon account, he'll be asked to use the Google Authenticator on his smartphone to add that physical hardware factor to authentication.